All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, for all of those who thought that Billy Napier's days as Florida's head football coach would be numbered, we'll have to get used to seeing him on the sideline some more at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Yesterday, Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland announced that the school is sticking with Napier as they need a disciplined and stable approach. In 2+ years at Florida, Napier's record is just 15-18, while he's only 8-13 within the Southeastern Conference. Now, Florida right now is in the midst of their worst 3-year run in the program since the late 1970s, as this could mark the third consecutive year that the Gators will finish with a losing record. Now, the Boo Birds were out in force to begin this season for Napier and the Gators as they were blown out at home, first by Miami and then by Texas A&M in the month of September. There was speculation that Napier wouldn't be able to last the entire year at Florida, but the Gators have shown improvement after their slow start. They're 4-4, and last month we saw Florida go on the road and lose by 6 in Knoxville to Tennessee, a game that Florida was winning in the second half, and then they just gave Georgia a scare last Saturday in Jacksonville. Nonetheless, Florida's 4-4 on the season, and arguably they have the, if not one of the hardest schedules in college football. As you look at it right now, Florida's 4 losses this season are against teams that are currently ranked in the top 15. And the Gators simply are not out of the woods yet. They'll be in Austin tomorrow to take on Texas, while their next 2 home games are going to see them host LSU and Ole Miss. So Strickland is citing stability as the Gators simply cannot keep starting over every 4 years for a head with a head football coach. You look at it, and a lot of people feel, and I feel this way too. Florida pushed the panic button after one bad year with Jim McElwain, and they did the same with Dan Mullen, and here we are. So, with all of that said, the power brokers around this Florida program simply put out feelers in regards to getting a big name to come to pardon me, to Gainesville, and did they just simply circle back to Billy Napier? That is a possibility. I'm not here to say yes or no, but I do believe it is a possibility. You look at it, and as a college head coach, you got to go out there and win those rivalry games. Now, Florida did not beat Tennessee or Georgia this year. Napier did beat Tennessee last year in Gainesville, and they were very close. But of course, there's no such thing as a participation award or a consolation prize in the world of college football. You've got to win. But the Gators were heavy underdogs in both of those games, and they did compete. So, what should be the plan now for Florida now that they're going to stick with Napier? First things first, they want to finish out the season strong. They're 4-4. They need to win 2 out of their last 4 games in order to become bowl eligible. It's not going to be easy when you're talking about having to deal with Texas, LSU, and Ole Miss on that slate. Of course, once upon a time, people felt like, wow, Florida State was going to mop the floor with Florida. But guess what? It ain't looking good right now for the Seminoles. So that could be a easier victory potentially for the Gators. But nonetheless, they're 4-4. They want to finish this season strong. They look like they have a young quarterback in DJ Lagway. And of course, Graham Mertz was a guy in the transfer portal that Billy Napier got. But DJ Lagway is his recruit. And of course, Florida looked a lot different last Saturday when Lagway was in the game. And of course, he left that game with an injury. And you can only speculate and wonder what could have happened for the Florida Gators if they had a healthy Lagway throughout that game. We simply will not know. Nonetheless, Florida has to go out there. They've got to attack the transfer portal. And what we've seen in recent years is if a head coach and an administration know how to navigate that transfer portal properly, it could turn around the fortunes of their program very quickly. Just look at the Sunshine State right now and look at what Miami has been able to do with the transfer portal. And now we see them in contention to make the college football playoff. Nonetheless, the ongoing questions about Florida's football facilities in comparison to the juggernauts of the SEC. You look at Georgia, top-notch facilities. You look at Alabama, top-notch facilities, and the same thing can go with LSU, Texas A&M, um, Oklahoma, and Texas as well. Florida's got to go out there and find a way to keep up with the Joneses because the recruiting battle in college football is as intense as ever with the NILs and the transfer portals and the transfer portal rather. You got to be on top of your game in all facets of your program. So making this announcement now for Florida, I think puts, a lot of questions to bed for their program. Also, it's a scenario where you allow Napier to keep his football recruiting class for next year intact, probably keep his coaching staff intact, maybe make some adjustments here or there, but also being able to maintain the guys that Napier has already recruited to Florida on this current roster. The Gators have one of the youngest teams in the Southeastern Conference. And like I said before, DJ Lagway has a lot of potential, okay? But you look at this Florida program, and with all of the success that the Florida fan base saw under both Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, I totally understand that they want to see Florida get back to that, and they truly deserve it. I'm not here to make excuses for Napier, okay? Because again, after the way that they began this season and after his first 2 years, I really thought he was on thin ice, okay? But nonetheless, it's one of those they're tired of seeing their team lose to Florida. They've been able to hold their own against Tennessee, but you think about it, now we're seeing Florida, you know, get dominated by Georgia. They don't play Kentucky on the schedule this year, and Mark Stoops' club has been a thorn in the side of the Gators in recent years. Florida wants to get back to that, and of course, they've seen what Alabama was under Nick Saban. They see what LSU continues to be, what Georgia is. Florida wants to be right there. I mean, you think about it with the indoctrination of the SEC championship game, it basically became the Florida Invitational in the 1990s. It was like if Florida wasn't there in the SEC championship game, it was a huge upset. Okay, but you're looking at the Gators right now. They haven't finished a season in the top 10 since 2019. They haven't finished a season in the top five since 2009 when Urban Meyer was still the head coach. And that's hard to believe when there's a lot of fans out there that follow this program that don't remember how bad they were once upon a time. And there also are a lot of fans that want to see Florida get back to being among the nation and the conference's elite. So I'll tell you like this, just because Napier did get the vote of confidence does not mean that he should relax because guess what? Another up and down season like this in 2025, he's going to be gone and there's going to be other people gone at Florida as well. You look at Florida for next year, their 2025 schedule isn't easy either. They take on USF once again. Oh, pardon me, USF. They took on UCF last this year, but nonetheless, they're going to be at Miami. You still got to deal with Georgia. You would expect Florida State to turn things around. They still got Texas on the slate, as well as LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. When I say LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M, all three of those are road games. Okay, at the end of the day, we've seen parity in college football, and parity looks like it's going to be here to stay for quite some time, especially with the NILs and the transfer portal. My point is, you can get this thing turned around quickly between the right recruits and the right people that you attract to your program in the transfer portal. This is why this offseason is going to be very important to Napier and his program. So it's going to be very interesting to see because Billy Napier, in his 4 years previous to coming to Florida at Louisiana in the Sun Belt, he was 40-12 overall, while going 27-5 within the Sun Belt. And the Raging Cajuns never finished with a losing season on his watch. Clearly, things are different as Florida has simply got lost in the wash, if you will, in the SEC. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Florida's faith in Napier pays off. Like I said, I want to see how this program is able to finish. And if Florida is somehow able to upset either Texas, LSU, or Ole Miss, because they're going to be heavy underdogs in all three of those games, I guarantee you that. But if they're able to upset one of them and finish off the season with a win against Florida State and then get to a bowl game, I think that is going to be a huge boost to conference confidence for this team heading into next season. Patience right now is the word of the day in Gainesville around this Florida football program. Will Florida's patience in Billy Napier pay off? Only time will tell. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.